today's page I'm starting with some watercolors for the background, and I'm just doing some squares of different colors, turning the brush in a different direction for each of the squares, just a little bit like a basket weave kind of look. What I'm wanting to do on this spread is to cover some thoughts that I'm having about a business I used to have for 16 years making custom window treatments. I left the business about 3 years ago, and for a number of reasons, it was just time to move on. And mostly, I just finished up, cleaned up my space, and walked away. And it's been a good choice for me to do that. And I miss my customers, but I can't say I've missed the work that much. Today, or the day that I did this page, or started this page, I was talking with one of my former customers. I see her fairly regularly, and she had moved. She'd sold her house and moved, and she'd talked about this a long time ago, and then she'd backed out of moving, and I did more rooms in her house because I did almost every room in the house at some point in time. And suddenly she'd sold the house and she was moving, and it was almost sad to me because she wasn't going to be in this space where we had worked really hard to create all these beautiful treatments. She told me how much the new owners of the house loved the window treatments, what a great selling point it was, and that made me feel really good. And I can't say it was the first time I really missed the business, and I didn't exactly miss it. It was just this sort of sadness, a little bit, this nostalgia of having done this, and then a little bit of a grieving process, I guess. So I wanted to do a page about that. And I have saved a lot of stuff that I plan to someday put in an album and kind of cover my whole many years of creating window treatments, doing classes on them at conferences and all kinds of things. But I didn't want to pull all that out, but I pulled out a few little odds and end pieces of paper and a couple of things from my regular book paper stash that I could put down here on this page with the watercolor background. And I'm just going to Mod Podge these on. And some of them are like old measuring sheets that I had created. There's one where I even did some writing on it because I'd modified it. Some things out of newsletters that I did or that other people did in the business that I'd saved, and just little bits that would kind of remind me. I have lots of pictures. I have tons of stuff left that I can put in an album or in other pages, but I just want a little bit here. And I want to spend some time on the journaling on this page and get some of my thoughts down about what I spent a lot of years doing, sometimes part-time, sometimes full-time. So this is going to cover up a little bit of the background, but there will still be plenty of the background visible as we get to the drawing part on this. And I'll be doing some hand drawing, which is not my best thing, I guess. I enjoy doing it. It's kind of fun to do. I wish I had a little bit larger repertoire of drawn images. That's something I probably need to work on. I tend to draw my flowers that kind of look the same. So I also splattered some of the watercolors on the background so you have kind of a drop effect. I have a bunch of Faber-Castell markers and some from American Crafts that are new to me that I picked up at Tuesday mornings. I'm using the black marker here that's real thick, and that's why I chose it. And then a Faber-Castell marker along with that to just kind of create a border between the open area at the top of the page and the area where I glued in all those little bits of paper. And I'm not going to film all the drawing, but you'll see some of it. I've got hearts and flowers, and there's significance to this. The drawings on the left page, I'm starting with the flowers larger, closer together. It's all very happy, sunny. You know, I'm excited about my business. And over time, that diminished some. And I think that's somewhat natural. But different things happened, recessions and changes in style and what people want in their homes, and all those elaborate window treatments I used to make. Nobody wants this anymore. I can't blame them. I don't really want them in my homes either. But that was the fun things to do, and I don't get to do that anymore. And that was part of the reason why I was kind of losing, I wouldn't say losing interest so much in the business, but it was some of that, and also wasn't as profitable when you don't use as much fabric on a window treatment. it tends to spend just as much time measuring and all, but you're not making as much money, and so that's part of the issue there as well. So I'm showing a lot more detail maybe on the left side, and then kind of as that dwindles down a little bit over on the right as time goes on. So this is sort of like a timeline, except with flowers and hearts and a little house, because I got into some residential design further along in the business. So I draw these in, and then I'm just doing a little bit of coloring using some of the smaller Faber-Castell markers, but mostly the large big brush markers. We'll get to those in just a moment. When you're drawing and adding color over watercolors, the water, anything wet that hits those watercolors is going to bring the color back up. So you're not going to get kind of a pure color once you put markers over the top of watercolors, but you still can get a lot of the color to show. And my star was not my best drawing effort, but I'm trying to clean it up there a little bit with a metallic marker. Now here's where I'm starting to pick up some color, and like that blue is going to kind of blend in with the gold, but it's still, you can still see a lot of the gold. Those markers are, the color's opaque enough to where you can still see a lot of the color that you're applying. And I'm using darker colors on the left and a little bit lighter colors on the right. And so you see I've finished doing the coloring, and down at the bottom of the page I felt like that was just a little too plain, so I'm adding some light colored gelatos to sort of add a little bit of color down there and still be able to see all the words and things that I've added. Put the gelatos on and then use a little bit of water to smear them around. And gelatos dry permanent, so if I went over this with another layer, they would stay put. And once that layer's done, then I'm going to start doing some journaling, and I'll be writing along the stems of the flowers and around the hearts and things, just some of my thoughts, very, from being super excited and different things kind of happened, and building relationships with customers and friendships that were long lasting, to sort of how things quieted down in the more recent years. And so I'm just finishing up that journaling here, and then I'll show you a few close-ups of the page. So thanks for going on this journey with me. I really appreciate you watching the videos, and I love getting your comments and feedback.